We weren't too certain why the man had killed himself. It was immediately obvious that there was a suicide upon entering the lab and seeing the brain-splattered wall. However, the man appeared to be of high regard to the surrounding community. Everyone loved him. Why would he do this? His grandson unfortunately found the corpse earlier that day when we went to visit him. He came running into the station, tears streaming down his face, screaming hysterically that his grandfather had killed himself. My partner and I headed over there to damage the poor kid. The laboratory was amazing. I'm not too savvy in any of that high-tech stuff, but it was all impressive nonetheless. His body was crumpled up in the corner, surrounded by a flurry of papers. He was holding the pictures of his grandson and some older-looking woman in his left hand, and the apparent suicide weapon in the palm of his right. The surface investigation started immediately. We scoped the entire laboratory. The grandson's haunting screams echoed non-stop throughout my head. This kept me going to try to understand this mess. It was late and I wanted to go home. My co-workers and I had been there all day. We had gathered that this man had been researching some sort of secret project. In fact, it wasn't just him. It was other professors from other labs in neighboring regions also. What they were researching wasn't so clear. The papers that we've been able to gather, namely the ones from nearby his corpse, only speak of certain details of this project, which is codenamed M3. The most interesting find is that this M3 appears to be some sort of experimental genetics project. It seems to be something that could only be dealt with under the most strict, severe conditions. That is, it could only be interacted with via extreme security measures. It must have been incredibly dangerous. This is all interesting, but what does it have to do with this man's suicide? One more thing struck us as odd. The apparent murder weapon doesn't have the man's fingerprint on it. The woman in the photo, the one the man was holding, she came in the next day. She was quite beautiful in person, although she appeared to have been crying a lot. Her bloodshot eyes stared into mine. I knew him. I have something that may help you, she said. Sure, step back here with us, ma'am, I said. My partner and I led her back into the interrogation room. I started the recorder. What's your name, ma'am? Delia Ketchum, she pauses. I was very close friends with Samuel. Did he ever tell you anything about his line of work? I asked. Yes, he did, all the time, but lately, these past few months, he has been talking anywhere as much as he used to. In fact, when I asked him about work a week ago, he didn't say anything at all. He just shrugged. I've never seen him so sullen. It was very unsettling. Delia's phone rang. Oh dear, I'm sorry, it's my son. I'll only be a minute. My partner turned to me. Maybe we can get a lead here, eh? I stared at her. Lead? For all we know, it's a suicide. The missing fingerprints is odd, but I bit my lip. This entire investigation, I air quoted, is not really that stable. I mean, we don't really know anything except this guy was part of some secret research, I added. Okay, sorry, all done. Now, about Samuel. He came into my house the night before the accident. Tears began appearing in her eyes, and he began talking about this thing that apparently had been brought to his lab. He said that 4 other men had been there too, keeping tight security on this apparent genetic monstrosity. Those were his exact words. I stared. So, this genetic monstrosity, did he show you any pictures or give you any information on it? She faintly smiled. He was visibly shaken. He said that he didn't want to go back to his lab. He was afraid of the thing that his men had brought. He said that it could read our minds and manipulate the very fabric of reality itself. I couldn't help but laugh at the whole thing, yet he didn't find it funny, and I realized that he was being serious, then pulled out an apparent photo of this thing in its containment chamber. Delia reached in her purse and pulled out a photograph. The creature looked sickly, indeed a monstrosity, as the man had said. Apparently it was some sort of upgrade to this, I believe it was called Mewtwo, Delia added. My partner's eyes widened. Do you remember the thing about that damn Team Rocket's leader having some horrifically powerful Pokemon? Allegedly some multi-million-dollar genetics project. I think that was Mewtwo. He went into hiding after it escaped. It's very city's gym leader too. I did vaguely remember that. Wait, so this thing, why was it brought here? Delia's face became pale. I guess the men were going to try and harness its power using certain laboratory conditioning techniques or something like that, but Samuel said that this whole thing was ridiculous and unstable. was far too powerful to control. Apparently, he was against its existence altogether. Ironically, Samuel was the most trusted in his training and honing Pokemon amongst his colleagues, so they were going to have him take care of it for the next few months. I couldn't believe this. Something went horrifically wrong there. Maybe this is why Samuel's fingerprints aren't on the weapon. He didn't kill himself. M3 got to him, my partner exclaimed. I'm unsure about that. I mean, why didn't we see a containment chamber or some sort of holding cell when we were there? I said, turning to the window. It was awfully gloomy outside. It's getting a bit late, I'm sorry, but I must go. But you ladies can have this photo, Delia said, handing over the photo. Thank you for your help, I said. Smiling to her, she waved and left. Let's go back. We need to find this thing's cell, my partner whispered. I nodded. The lab was dormant. It was eerie. All this technology, all dead and waiting for the next great mind to use it once more. We looked around the space again, but nothing really appeared to fit what Delia described. Wait, look. There was a little switch behind this large painting sticking out. How did we miss that? I mumbled. This was the wall Ugg was leaning against when he killed himself. I flipped the switch. The wall opened up, a small doorway opened. It was eerie. We knew it may be down there. We pulled out our guns and headed down. It was a small space. An enormous steel box sat in the middle of the room. There are a lot of weird panels on the walls and ceiling, as well as an odd humming sound, possibly coming from the box. This must have been it. Do you think it's still in there? My partner stuttered. I stood there in shock as I realized my error. We left the door open. I turned around. There, at the end of the passage, stood the thing, M3. Freeze! I yelled, aiming straight at its head. Do you honestly think that you could put a bullet through me? M3 replied. Its mouth didn't move, so it's telepathic as well. Got an urge to shoot, to empty my entire clip on it. My finger almost moved by itself as my partner and I fired away. I just stood there. None of the bullets hit it, and they all fell to the floor before they even got close. What? My partner whispered. He left me down here after attempting to understand something his weak mind had no capability of understanding, M3 said. Of course, I would not have had some mere human contain me, nor would I be ignored by such a pathetic creature, so I decided to aid him in taking his life, it said. Its face hadn't changed in the slightest. So you did kill him? Why make it look like a suicide? Why are you even still here? I said. It somewhat cocked its head. I needed someone to come down here and find me. I was trapped, after all. There was some sort of field that weakened my incredible power dramatically down in that room. I believe that steel box is the source. Regardless, all I could do was warp his mind into a severe flash depression that would end in his suicide, aided by me pulling the trigger behind this wall. You have done well. Now I can go out in this world and begin my ascension. I tried to move, but realized it had me paralyzed. One of the bullets lifted off the ground, and in a split second, passed straight through my partner's head. Jenny! I yelled, watching her body slump to the floor. You monster! I screamed at it. No emotion showed on its face at all. Your species' reign on this planet is coming to an end. It is time for me to go. It is time for you to go to sleep, and when you wake up, tell them about me. Tell them everything. A large block began lifting off the ground. As it began to fly towards my paralyzed body, I heard these last words. Yes, human. I am a monster, just like my brother before me. I am you three.